Hello, YouTube friends and family. How are you today? I'm here because I am on the naughty plant mom list. So I'm going to repot at least one plant today, even though I need to repot several. And I need to tend to several. If I showed you some of these plants around me, you would want to go come scoop me up and lock me up in plant mom jail right now. But, especially my fiddle leaf, I hadn't watered it in weeks. I need to hurry up and repot it. It's horrible. So I might go ahead and take care of that one today also. But I also want to talk about the things going on. So while we repot, I'm going to use this pot. It's an IKEA pot. It has no holes. And I have these things called potholes from Ollie's. They're little discs that go in the bottom to help retain the moisture. I just would have to be careful not to overwater. And I wish I'd have bought more of these because they were only $2. So they were like $1 a piece because it's 2 in the pack. So it's a pretty good deal. So this might be a pretty long video too, because I wanted to tell you based on what's going on in the world. It's flooding going on. It's a lot of flooding going on. And over the years, there has been a lot of flooding going on. And I have, number one, I've been in mortgages for over 20 years. Oops, sorry. I ain't got no scissors out here. I've been in mortgages for over 20 years. So I'm versed enough in insurance. I own rental property. So that makes a difference too. But also these things are reusable. But I actually have a flood story. So I am pretty much from an experience standpoint and from a work standpoint, I know a good little bit about flood insurance. My flood story was I had a rental property. Oh, and the rental property, this is the pot I'm replanting, by the way. I've had this plant about 2 years, only repotted it once. This pot is way too small. You see it's starting to go bad at the bottom. It needs to go deeper. And look at these big old beautiful leaves, pretty purple. So I'm going to repot that. But, and it's dry as a bone right now. So, dang it, keeps wanting to fall over. I hope I don't kill it. We're going to say a prayer at the end of this for my plant to make it. I had a rental property. I bought this rental property and closed on it one day. Walked in with my handyman at the time. I miss him so much. With my handyman at the time 2 days after I closed. 2 days after I closed on that house, we walked in and we were wading in about 2 to 3 inches of water throughout the whole house. Oh, that was a sad, sad day. That was a bad buy. And back then, we were only paying, I was only paying like $40,000, $50,000 for these houses, but still, that was a lot then. When you got several of them and you got mortgages on them all. So, we were going over the scope of work, and here's the surprise. We could not figure out what was up with that property. The properties next door would not, they weren't flooding. It was like an older house. It sat low. It had kind of sunk and settled. So every time it rained heavy, it flooded. So he was was good. He really was good at figuring stuff out like that out. We gotta dry this thing. It was dry as a bone. He was really good at figuring stuff like that out. He was an older gentleman. Have to take this down. And he kind of remedied this, gave it a temporary solution. We bought loads of dirt in and, all of that. So that lasted, that helped it not flood for some years to come. And we worked it out that particular time. I'm going to have to put this in a different pot. This is not going to work at all. Because this thing is so far up and so far root bound, it's ridiculous. So we figured it out for that time being. It lasted, a couple of years went by, didn't have a problem. And then eventually I got to the point I say, well, before we have a problem, let me go ahead and get some flood insurance. Anybody that owns a home can buy flood insurance. And whether you're in a flood zone or not. Okay? So please know that. And regular insurance does not cover a home when it floods through the rainstorms or whatever. Now, if it floods because of a busted pipe, that's a different story. But regular insurance does not cover when it floods due to rain. Almost need another set of hands here. So, is that what's in here? Anybody can get the flood insurance. So when you're not in a flood zone, the flood insurance is actually pretty cheap. It's cheaper than normal. Because people who are in a flood zone, their flood zone can be in the thousands, like $1,500, $1,600. That's flood insurance. And if you're in a flood zone, because 9 times out of 10, a flood may happen. And they determine flood zones with the FEMA maps. And they only evaluate that at every 7 years. So what affects all of that is things that's going on now. Them used to be marshlands, wastelands that they're turning into homes to whole communities. It not only could it flood that community, which is not in a flood zone because there wasn't no houses there before, so they weren't even concerned about it. It can also draw the water over to your house because where the water was draining in that wasteland, now it's got to go somewhere. So keep that in mind. Word to the wise. So, because like I have a lake in the back. When a hurricane hit, I saw that lake rise higher than it ever rose before. It wasn't spilling over into the yard, but it rose pretty high. And I want to say, not for certain, but I think it feeds in a river that's 4 blocks over. 4 blocks over. But we not in a flood zone, thank God. But if something was to go wrong in that draining system, or it was to go backwards, or whatever, my house could be in 2-3 feet of water. So, needless to say, I have flood insurance too. So sometimes insurance, even though it ain't required, is a good idea. I really want this in the middle. Why am I seeing a shadow? Even though it's not required, it's a good idea. It could be the best investment. So on this particular rental property, I finally got flood insurance. And lo and behold, I had it for like 2 years. Nothing happened. Lo and behold, one day the tenant called and said, it flooded in here. I cried because I had forgot to make the payment. Because I paid it once a year. It doesn't go with, if you're not required to have flood insurance, this is the funny thing about it. If you're not required to have flood insurance, your mortgage won't escrow it for you. So that's one big bill that you're going to get hit with once a year, or maybe they'll put you on a, month-to-month plan. However, when you have to make a claim on this insurance, that they want to be all kinds involved when you make that claim. So, but I hadn't made the payment because I was responsible for the payment on my own once a year, and I forget about these things. I got a lot of stuff to remember. So, I'm still going to have to trellis this up on a stick or something. So, I pulled up the bill. I pulled the bill out. I had the paper. I went and searched for it because I was literally in tears. I will never forget. It was on a Sunday morning. I was literally in tears. I said, I went and looked up the bill, and this may help somebody who's in this situation right now, or who has flooded recently, or anything like that. So I pulled up the bill, and I read the bill. So apparently, and you should have saw me shouting around this house, I had a 30-day grace period. So even though the bill was due, let's say, I'm just calling out a date, July 16th. I hadn't paid July 16th. I have until August 15th to pay. This flood happened like August 10th. I'm just throwing out dates. I don't remember the date. I just know it was on a Sunday. Don't you know I picked up my credit card, hurried up, and paid that thing by phone that day? Because it was like an automated system to pay by phone. I put that payment in, and I made that claim. Right after I made that payment, and it was all legit. Because you do have that 30-day grace period. So, they sent out the adjusters. And I'm going to tell you what it costs when you have a flood. I don't think they gave me enough. They gave me over, like, the dry out alone was over $5,000. Because I called the dry out team. They were in there drying it out. The tenant, I say, please, I can't do nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. Can you move? I'll give you your deposit back or something like that. We worked that out because she was a long-time tenant, still friends with her to this day. So, as she was moving and giving me my key, she hadn't been there. The people had the dry out equipment in there. We walk in there. And this was like Tuesday after the Sunday, or Wednesday after the Sunday. The joint was flooded again. I said, I'd be dang gone. I was like, and at that point, I really was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Another thing, as a tenant, I had been telling her to get renter's insurance. And one time it was an issue, and she had the renter's insurance. That's what happened. She had the renter's insurance. If some water got in there, but it was only in one room. We dried that up and cleaned that up and went on. But her renter's insurance told her they would not pay for her lost items unless I had flood insurance. So they wouldn't even pay for a flood unless I had flood insurance that was also paying for the flood. Okay. So, she let let that renter's insurance lapse. So I'm going around getting flood insurance to help her the next time it happened, because we knew it was going to happen. And she let it lapse, and I was like, come on, girl. I felt so bad. But, yeah, that's my flood story. So with that house, they end up all in all paying out $20-something thousand. That one little 3 inches of water can cost $20-something thousand. So I was just watching Prepping for Survival, and she was talking about, you know, trying to give y'all some interesting facts on flood insurance. But I wanted to tell you my story from the ground, running. This house was not in a flood zone. This house was not required to have flood insurance. This house flooded, legit flooded. None of the next door houses was flooding now. Get that part. This house legit flooded at least 4 or 5 times. Well, it flooded twice in 1 week for one. So 3 to 4 times in a 10-year ownership. I might have owned that house 12 years or so. 12 years. So I paid for flood insurance for another year while trying to fight with FEMA, because I just wanted them to tear the house down. So it's a way to get FEMA to tear down, buy flood-prone properties and tear them down. I let it sit empty. I used the money that they gave me to continue to pay the mortgage. And then I ended up short selling that house because I wasn't with it. I wouldn't have asked anybody. I wouldn't have wanted anybody to live there anymore, knowing the devastation. You see what I'm saying? It was just too devastating to have a flood every 3, 4 years. Everything we did, you know, it did nothing. It failed eventually. So it was temporary fixes. So we short sold the house. Some investor bought it, and I could see in the pictures where they put like slabs, because I was waiting on the city to buy it. I waited 1.5 years on the city to call me and say, okay, we ready to buy. They had it on the list to buy, but it took forever. I'm like, I'm still making mortgage payments. And at that point, again, I had lost my job. I'm like, I'm not finna keep trying to carry this debt. So I did the short sale. I'm like, I can't keep waiting on y'all. I would call them. No, we don't know yet. It's still coming down the pipe. They called me maybe 4 months after I sold the property. I say, contact the new owner, because I'm out. And, you know, city, state governments run real slow. And I think somebody's living in that house now. And, you know, at night, it's been like, 2 years, maybe 2-3 years since I sold it. At night, when I hear that rain coming down hard, I be like, ooh, thank you, Father, God in heaven. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jesus. I go into my own little shout, because that burden was off of me. So, looking at the lake in the back, looking at a new building, new community on every other block, and a river 4 blocks away, whether they tell you to do it or not, this is all part of prepping. Whether they tell you to do it or not, get your flood insurance. Mine is only what was it, like $700 a year? Something like that. It's $600-700 a year. Because you're not required to have it, it's that good. And they pay. Because you don't want to get stuck out here like this. These floods that's happening are not happening in flood zones. So these people got to apply for SBA loans. They got to wait on FEMA. They got to wait on this, that, and the other. Whereas flood insurance, as long as you remember who the company is, once all the stuff is floated away, or call your agent or whatever, they gonna cover it. They gonna send you a check, get you lodging, start the ball rolling. That's part of prepping. That's part of prepping. So please, if you can find it in your budget, Work on that budget. Because if you can find it in your budget, if you are a homeowner, if you are a renter, talk to your landlord to see if they have flood insurance and you get renter's insurance. Get renter's insurance anyway, because whoo, we got robberies going on over here like crazy. That's a rental insurance claim, even if you're a renter. Now, any other time, your landlord ain't got nothing to do with your stuff. If they steal a refrigerator or the stove, yeah, okay, I'm going to file a claim for my refrigerator and my stove or my hot water heater, but that's all that's covered. Or my air conditioner, that's all that's covered with the landlord. You lose your TV, your kids' TV, your kids' video games, that's on you. So, renters, owners alike, make sure you are properly insured. Work that into your budget. Like renter's insurance, last I checked, one but $300 a year. That's $25 a month. And I know rents is high, but it is worth every penny just in case it's too much happening around here. And it's too bad out here to just get caught out like that. So we have our plant. I am going to trellis this up some sort of way because I kind of want, I know it likes to spread, but it's still so floppy. I don't know if you can see it. It's still so floppy even though I buried it deeper. So I don't know. Anybody got some suggestions on trellising this plant up? Let me know. But I think I'm going to get some of this wire and loosely kind of grab everything so that it won't be breaking off. And we going to say a prayer that this purple plant lives and survives the brutality I just put it through. We're going to say a prayer. Lord, please let her live. In your name I pray, amen. So, I want all of you to stay safe, prep, and pray. Having insurance is a part of prepping. Because the government ain't studying saving you. I promise you. So, I do thank you for watching. If you like this video and you like what we're doing over here, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We do everything over here. I'm kind of a lifestyle blogger, but I do prep, I garden, I have general life lessons from tons of experience. So you will learn something over here and have a good time. I do thank you again for watching. You have a great day. Stay safe. Plant a seed, plant a seed, plant a seed. Prep and pray. Bye-bye.